What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home here at fakepigskin.com. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me once again, it's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian? How was your week 2, and are you ready to attack this waiver wire?
I sure am ready to attack the waiver wire, and I know, like many other fantasy owners, I was slightly hit by this bloodbath of a Sunday with injuries, so I know there's going to be a lot of people looking for new additions.
Absolutely. So for this pod, we're going to give you 5 names to target on the waiver wire. It's going to try and be a quick, just get out, talk about a few names that you need to be adding. If you want a little more in-depth, a little more diving deeper, check out our other episode. We will break it down, but that will be, 30 minutes or so. This is going to be try and be a quicker version. So people that don't have as much time or just want a couple names to add, that's what this podcast is going to be for. So, Brian, without further ado, let's talk our week 3 waiver wire targets. That is quite the mouthful. And we'll start in LA with the Chargers, Joshua Kelley. A player that, to be honest, I heard some buzz on coming into the season. I wasn't sure if I was buying it. I still like Justin Jackson. I thought he was pretty talented. While he's hurt, I feel like his opportunities have definitely gone away, and he's clearly the third option. I expect him to clearly be the third option when he comes back. But the way Anthony Lynn is talking about reinserting Tyrod, who knows what we'll actually believe. But
who the hell knows?
In week 2, Austin Ekeler saw 57% of the snaps. Joshua Kelley saw 52% of the snaps. Joshua Kelley saw 26 targets and 26 opportunities, which is catches and targets, while Austin Ekeler only saw 20. If for some reason Tyrod is put back in, I think that's actually a boost for Kelley, who, while Herbert was actually dumping off to the pass to Ekeler and letting Ekeler do his thing. That's not really what Tyrod does and hasn't really done and didn't see in week 1. Kelley is somebody that's interesting to me. I think we're both pro Austin Ekeler, and we definitely saw him remind people why he's a fantasy asset in week 2. But, for our number 5 option, I think Joshua Kelley makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong with signing this guy. I mean, 23 totes of the ball against the Chiefs team that, they're not the worst defense in the NFL by any means, but they're not the best either. So the Chargers were committed to the run, especially with the rookie back there playing quarterback. And Kelley, there were times during the game that I was watching that I couldn't tell the difference between Kelley and Ekeler, and I wasn't sure which one was on the field until I saw them get tackled, and I saw 27 or 30. So I think they're kind of interchangeable at this moment. And for all those people that invested a high draft pick on Austin Ekeler, they're probably extremely angry and really antsy right now because Kelley's getting a lot of opportunities. They have the Carolina Panthers upcoming, who just got smoked on the ground by our boy Rojo before he fumbled and Leonard Fournette. So yeah, I think this is a smash week for Kelley to be a flex and possible RB2 for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And another good matchup. Obviously, the Chiefs matchup seemed like a one that would potentially be a negative game script. A lot more Austin Ekeler. Obviously, they were able to keep it close. We'll see what this means. And the good thing about mobile quarterbacks, whether it's Tyrod or Justin Herbert, who's actually pretty mobile, is the effect on the ground game and the rushing ability. So I like Kelley quite a bit. And as you mentioned, getting Carolina this week is really nice. Let's head to Atlanta. Let's talk Russell Gage. We've talked about him a couple times. And once again, he shows up. Obviously, he's a guy that, we saw, 12 targets in week 1, obviously catching 9 of them for 114. We were kind of hesitant on how much involvement he would have. A week later, despite having a game where Atlanta was up, he saw 9 targets, caught 6 of them for 46 yards, had a touchdown, also had a basically option that should have ended up in Julio Jones' hand. That Julio, I don't know how he didn't catch it, but he could have had a passing touchdown. Now, you don't expect that every week, but the fact that they're going to find unique ways to utilize him, kind of like they did with Mohamed Sanu, is something that shows they trust the kid,
Yep.
that they think he can be a part of this offense. And even an offense that has Todd Gurley and Hayden Hurst and Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, he continues to be involved. And if for some reason Julio's banged up this week and beyond, he becomes a guy that's even more interesting with the Bears, the Packers, and the aforementioned Panthers the next 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that we've spoken about before. We were talking about him after week 1 as a potential sleeper guy, and even leading into week 1. The fact that he wasn't rostered on more teams, on a team that we were both expecting Matt Ryan to come out this season and ball out, throw for a ton of touchdowns, a ton of yards. He's another guy. He should be rostered on 100% of teams right now, especially with the injury concerns to Julio Jones, where it seems every year he's getting banged up. And like you said, even with Julio out there on the field, we saw Matt Ryan look to Gage early and often. And this team is consistently running 3 wide receiver sets. So I don't think that's going to change much for the rest of the year. The defense is horrendous. I mean, we saw them let Dallas just get back into that game extremely easy. So the majority of their games are going to be played in the 50s this season, I think. So you're looking at a guy who has the opportunity to score a touchdown, get 5 or 6 catches a week with a floor of about 45, 50 receiving yards. So yeah, he's a definite add.
100%. Let's head to Indy. They've got 2 names to talk about. We'll start first with Michael Pittman, a receiver I really liked coming out of USC. I thought would be able to step in pretty quickly. Obviously, the loss of Paris Campbell is going to be huge in terms of opening up potential targets for him. It's also interesting the use or lack thereof of T.Y. Hilton.
Yes.
If you want to look at like snap rates, Michael Pittman saw 92% of the snaps. Zach Pascal saw 81%, and T.Y. Hilton saw 58%.
I will say, I think one of the reasons why that was because Indy got up so early, and they seemed very committed to just letting Jonathan Taylor bulldoze his way to a big day. Which I mean, we all kind of expected that, but not every game is going to be that kind of script. And this week is one of those games against the Jets.
Yeah. And I think Pittman is somebody that's going to be incredibly interesting. I think he fits Phillip Rivers too. Ty feels like a guy that is more about precision timing, putting the ball, letting him run through it, and then end up in the end zone. Where with Pittman and the guy we're going to talk about next, bigger body guys, throw it up, let them go get it, let them use their dynamic catch radius, go get the ball and make plays in contested catch situations, which I mean Rivers, like it or not, is going to throw it up and give his receivers an opportunity to make plays. And Ty had a touchdown that he probably should have caught that he dropped, so it could have had a little bit better of a week. But Pittman's definitely somebody that's going to be interesting to me, somebody that in terms of targets, only saw 2 in week 1, saw 6 in week 2, caught 4 of them for 37 yards. I expect his trajectory to continue going in the positive direction. Now, how much of a red zone threat he can be with Jonathan Taylor and the running game being so important to what they do, and the other guy that we're going to mention here, Mo Alie-Cox, being involved. We'll see what that looks like, because Mo Alie, as long as Jack Doyle's out, Mo Alie-Cox is absolutely somebody that I'm adding, somebody that I'm starting, and I think has the potential to be a Darren Waller-esque kind of breakout player. 6 targets, 5 catches, 111 yards. Jack Doyle has seen 5 or more targets in 30 games with the Indianapolis Colts. Mo Alie-Cox has seen it once. Both players have count them 1 100-yard game. So Mo Allie's obviously 1 for 1. I'm not saying that I expect that every time, but I think he's going to be involved. I think he's a guy that you can run as kind of a screen game, a kind of a down the field, in the red zone if they want to throw a little bit to keep, I could see a lot of Jonathan Taylor play action, Mo Alie-Cox standing wide open in the corner. And when we're talking about George Kittle being out potentially another couple weeks and other injuries at the position, other frustrations at the position, he could be a guy that owners should be running out to get.
Yeah, Mo Alie-Cox was a guy who, when we first heard the news about Jack Doyle nursing an injury and the potential of him missing the game, I was all about going out and adding him. Now, I may not have been as high as everyone else about what kind of performance we were going to see with him, but he definitely proved me wrong. And Phillip Rivers has shown time and time again when he had Antonio Gates, if he likes a guy, he's going to continue to throw him the ball, and we saw that with both Pittman and Mo Alie-Cox. Because I noticed as soon as Paris Campbell got hurt, they went to Pittman on 2 consecutive plays throughout the game. Every time Rivers would look down the field, he was looking at Mo Alie-Cox. He has that athleticism to go up and get it. And with a guy like Rivers, who is that gunslinger, those are the guys he targets.
Yep.
If you look at their upcoming schedule, the Jets, the Bears, and the Browns, they've all been struggling against tight ends. And in the Jets' case, their strongest asset on defense is their running defense. So we may see a little bit more passing there. I think this is a perfect opportunity to have Mo Alie-Cox step in and get you some huge days.
Yeah, and I think the snap share for both of them is incredibly interesting in terms of they trust them to do the correct things in the running game. So that will help keep them on the field, help keep them give them opportunities in the passing game, and make them incredibly interesting. So I highly suggest adding both those guys. And as you mentioned, with opportunities coming in the coming up in the next few weeks, both guys could be incredibly impactful. Let's head to San Francisco, where this team is just riddled with injuries. Jimmy G is down. Kittle might be another week. Nick Bosa's done for the year.
Solomon Thomas likely done for the year. And Tevin Coleman's going to miss a few games, while Raheem Mostert will at least miss next week, probably more. And it's a shame because Mostert has, we kind of scoffed a little bit at his 3rd, 4th round ADP. As of now, was living up to that, and then some. Was incredible, involved a lot. It will be interesting to see how long he's actually out for, and I assume when he comes back, steps right back into his starter role. That being said, Jerick McKinnon and Jeff Wilson Jr. are 2 guys you absolutely need to be running to the waiver wire for. I will say, I'm curious about the deployment of McKinnon, who, despite Mostert going out, only saw like 15 snaps, I think. Now had a monster run, ended up in the end zone, is going to be involved in the passing game. I still expect, Jeff Wilson Jr. to be a guy that gets goal line carries, gets that kind of being between the tackles. We've seen him be, really, really impactful in the running game. Where are you at with both these guys? I mean, if I was Raheem Mostert and or Tevin Coleman person, and I had them on my roster, I'm going to get these San Francisco guys because they fit the scheme perfectly. Yep. We've seen Jeff Wilson play consecutive games with 2 touchdowns in 2 straight games before. Jet McKinnon was an RB1 when he was with Minnesota right after AP left there. I think we with Mullins back there playing quarterback, or if they go CJ Beathard, I think we see a little more of that quick passing, a lot more screens, and I think Jet McKinnon is going to be in the game more in the upcoming games without Jimmy G. So yeah, I think either one of these guys is good for anybody.
Yep. And even with Mullins starting, like you said, I still think they're incredibly interesting. And it's very 2020 for the Niners to be riddled with injuries, and for Jordan Reed and Jerick McKinnon to be a huge part of what they're doing and actually being on the field. That's hilarious. All right. So Brian, if you're going to the waiver wire, obviously we ran through our 5 plus 1. Who's your top ad? Who's your second ad?
Oh, man, I'm probably going after Jet McKinnon because of what he offers in the passing game. And we've seen him do it before as being kind of that 18 to 20 touch guy when he was with Minnesota in a similar system. And then my second one, I'm going to go after Mo Alie-Cox because the tight end who can get down the field and get big chunk plays is very important. And they give you a leg up over those other tight ends that are just getting – the little 5 and 7 yard dinkers for 4 or 5 catches a game. So yeah, it's McKinnon number 1 and then Cox 2.
Yep. If you're in any sort of PPR, I think McKinnon's the answer. If you're in a standard league, I might look at Jeff Wilson just because I expect him to get the touchdowns and be involved. I feel better though about McKinnon kind of going forward, that even when Mostert comes back, if Coleman's still out, McKinnon kind of being that complementary piece, I think makes a lot of sense. And Mo, I think you're right. I think if you need any sort of tight end help, if you don't have Travis Kelce or Zach Ertz or Dallas Goedert, maybe that I don't really feel great about a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, if you're kind of running on one of those borderline top 7 to 12 guys, AlieCox would probably be my guy. If you have a Kelley or someone you're really happy with, I think I'm going after Michael Pittman. I know Russell Gage has had the targets. I know, consistently being involved, but I do feel a little bit better about Pittman on a week-to-week basis in Indy with all of those, far fewer people to battle touches with. I still like Gage a lot, and I still would add him if you need receiving help. But I'm kind of shooting for potential upside and a player who I think can evolve as the season rolls along. All right, Brian, this is a lot of fun. As I mentioned, we will be doing a full breakdown of week 2, look ahead to week 3 as soon as we are done with this. So if you want more information on kind of where our heads are at, what we're doing with Saquon and all those other names, but we wanted to give you 5 names that you could target ahead of the waiver wire. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyler Robert, and we'll talk to you guys next time.